I'm just going to jump right into it. Welcome to the...
Sorry.
Don't do that again.
I hit my elbow on the table.
Welcome to the Iconoblast podcast. This is the show that takes a look behind the public facades of famous icons to show you why you can never take anything at face value. My name is Cooper, and joining me once again is the sexiest man I know, Joel Benner.
Sup?
Yeah. Oh, come on. Go lay down. You were just laying down. Why do you have to start wandering around the room now?
Because you got excited. She loves the intro to the show.
Well, she loves the show in general. She's one of our biggest fans.
Iconoblast, we put the past on blast. Hit them with the truth, with things you never knew. Nobody is safe, no thing to place. Got Joel and Coop with history in your face. Iconoblast.
Our topic today is another episode that Joel has written, and it's about alcohol again.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I started the alcohol episode, and it just set me down a long, long path of
research
cool
rabbit
shit.
hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I find a decent amount of topics, is when I'm researching one topic, it'll kind of lead to, I think they call it a Wikipedia spiral, where there's just so many links on each different page that it gives you more and more things to read up on.
And going and going. Yeah.
Yep. And when you're laying in bed late at night with nothing better to do, there's nothing quite like scrolling through Wikipedia. It's exciting. It's very exciting.
Wikipedia spiral? I guess that's healthier than a drug spiral.
Yeah, roughly the same. One of them's a little bit more beneficial to your life in general than the other. The drug spiral, obviously. You learn more from a drug spiral than you learn from a Wikipedia spiral.
It's true. Definitely life experience.
So today it's not going to be just alcohol that we're talking about. We're going to be talking about moonshiners, which we've got a moonshiner, at least one moonshiner in our audience.
JJ, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know how much we're allowed to say about him, but...
that's a good point, but I've had his product, and it is scarily good. And by scarily good, I mean it's scary strong.
We have the bottle at the studio, at the Drinking Bros studio, still empty.
Who was it that...
Finish that up.
There was somebody else that made, it was like that apple pie moonshine. Remember when the refrigerator at the studio was just packed with jars of moonshine for a few weeks until we drank through all of it?
Made that.
Was that Big Dick Danoff?
I think so, yeah.
That stuff was good. I'd buy it at the store if I could. I mean, same with JJ. His stuff was really good too.
JJ's is actually the real shit though. Like JJ's will get you fucked up.
Oh yeah. I mean, with both of them.
A little stronger than Big Dicks. I'll give them that. If
you drink enough, they're both going to fuck you up, at least from my experience.
Yeah, so I put my alcohol today in a jar in the spirit of the episode.
Oh, I've just got mine in this stupid little glass. Well, cheers to the moonshiners.
To the moonshiners. Let's do it.
There were three men, legendary figures in the world of moonshining, who some would say were the best to ever do it. These were not your run-of-the-mill hooch makers, nor were they some no-sugar glider operation. No good sugar glider operation? What's that?
You don't know? I guess that's kind of an inside joke. A sugar glider is someone who just kind of like glides through life.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard you use that in a few different contexts.
Yeah, because it basically a sugar glider is like a rat. It just shits everywhere. And it's just gliding through life. It just jumps and floats. It's got balls because it goes for it, but it's just kind of jumping in nowhere, and whatever happens, happens. There's no focus. There's no goal.
That makes sense. I had an ex that owned a couple of sugar gliders. Woke up one morning, and one of them was dead, and the other one had eaten both of its eyeballs.
Oh, God.
Yeah, those things are fucking weird.
Ugh.
No, these men were masters of their craft, possessing a deep understanding of the alchemical booze arts and with balls the size of mountains. They lived in a time when moonshining was not just a hobby, but a way of life, and they embraced that life with a passion that would leave most ordinary folk with their split tails tucked between their legs. Ha! Split tails. Yeah. Only person that I have ever heard use that term in a sentence was Don Fry when we were working with him on Chuck Hank and the San Diego Twins.
Using it in a sentence, like not as a joke or not on purposely wanting to say the term.
It's something that you could tell that he used on a regular basis, yeah.
Yeah.
These were the men who pushed the limits of what was possible, who dared to dream big, and who never let the law get in the way of a good time. These were the Moonshiners who would go down in history as the greatest to ever drunkenly walk the backwoods of America.
Yeah.
Now sit back, relax, grab your moonshine, and listen to the sultry sounds of my voice as I tell you the true tales of drugs, sex, and alcohol.
Yeah.
So what am I?
Cheers.
Am I just going to recap my weekend? Cheers. So this is going to be a bit of an anthology. There's a couple stories in here, and this is story 1 of 3. It's about a man named Popcorn Sutton. Is that really his? That's what they called him?
Yep.
All right.
Popcorn Sutton.
It was a moonless night in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, and Popcorn Sutton was on a mission. He had a batch of his finest moonshine ready to go, and he was determined to get it across the border no matter what it took. Sutton had spent weeks planning his route, and he knew every back road and hidden path like the back of his hand. He had his trusty old pickup truck loaded up with barrels of moonshine, and he was wearing his trademark leather overalls and hat, ready for action. Leather overalls, those sound really uncomfortable.
I was like, how can I make this guy even sweeter? Leather overalls.
So that was a little bit of, you took some artistic liberty.
Well, after reading about him, I was like, yeah, what? This guy's so sweet. He must have leather overalls.
That's something that every sweet dude has is leather overalls.
I've never seen leather overalls, so
neither have I.
I was proud of that. Just saying.
As he made his way deeper into the mountains, Sutton could feel the tension building. He knew the Border Patrol was on high alert, and he had to be careful not to attract any attention. But he was a master of the moonshine game, and he had a few tricks up his leathery sleeves. As he neared the border, he saw patrol lights flashing in the distance. He pulled off the dirt road and tucked behind a large shrubbery, just as a patrol car drove past him. Then, he quickly got back on the road and sped towards the border. Sutton knew that the border was heavily guarded, but he also knew that there were a few spots where he could slip through undetected. He navigated his way through the winding mountain roads, his heart racing with anticipation.
Yeah.
Finally, he arrived at the spot where he planned to cross the border. He left the truck running and hopped out. The area was familiar but unfamiliar. It had been years since he dropped a shine at this location. He headed off the main road. He rounded a large boulder, and after a few moments, he recognized the rock and lifted it up. Underneath a hole in a toolbox full of cash. I'm not sure how to read that.
Underneath the rock is a bunch of money.
Oh, okay. He backed up his truck as close as he could, and he began to unload the barrels of moonshine, carefully sneaking them across the border one by one. He could feel his adrenaline pumping as he worked, his eyes darting back and forth, searching for any sign of danger. As he unloaded the last barrel off his truck, he heard a sudden rustling in the bushes. He froze, his heart pounding inside his leather overalls. Really leaning into those leather overalls on this one.
He's so cool looking, dude.
But then he realized it was just a small animal, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Sutton pulled the truck back to the road. He took a look back. The barrels were nice and hidden, but the tracks from his wheels were visible. Easy fix. With a flick of his wrist, he pulled a rake out of the back of his pickup and quickly erased all the visible tracks from sight. Satisfied that he had successfully completed his mission, Sutton got back in his truck and drove off into the night, a smile on his face and a bottle of moonshine in his lap for the drive home. My man, gotta have those roadies.
That's right.
He knew that his customers would be thrilled to get their hands on his high-quality moonshine, and he was already planning his next border run. For Popcorn Sutton, the thrill of the moonshine game was just too irresistible to resist. I like this guy already. Don't know anything about him, but I like this guy already.
You're going to find out all about him now.
How did you find all these stories? I mean, obviously not the one that you wrote yourself, but I Google searched who are the top 3 most badass moonshiners. Wasn't one of the like a patriarch of the Kennedy family? Didn't he start off as a moonshiner or a bootlegger or something like that?
Literally, it was like I saw 3 different articles. I clicked on one, and it led me to these 3 dudes. Well, it was a list of top 5 or something, and I just picked the 3 names I thought was cool.
The 3 coolest names.
And I was like, I'm not
Sounds
going to
about
go
right.
down a rabbit hole. I'm just going to do these 3, and that's it.
Popcorn Sutton, whose real name was Marvin Sutton. Oh, yeah, no wonder he called himself Popcorn.
Marvin Popcorn Sutton.
Marvin Popcorn Sutton. That's even better than just calling him Marvin. Whose real name was Marvin Sutton, was a famous moonshiner from Maggie Valley, North Carolina. He was born on October 5th, 1946, and learned the art of moonshining from his father, who was also a moonshiner. It's a family business.
Family business.
And I think the reason that they called it, it's been a while since I've looked into it, but I'm pretty sure the reason that they called them moonshiners was because they would primarily work by moonlight so they could afford
They would deliver
avoid the
at night.
authorities. Sutton gained national attention in the early 2000s after a documentary was made about his life and moonshining operation called "This is the last damn run of liquor I'll ever make." That's actually what it was called.
Yep.
And liquor is spelled Likker.
Likker, yeah.
I got to watch that. He also wrote a book about his experience called Me and My Liquor, also spelled Likker. He might be one of the few people who actually wrote a book without even knowing how to read.
Apparently, it was a thing. Like they called it liquor, spelt that way back then.
Likker?
Yeah. I'm assuming either it's slang and it's cool, or it was just because going to school wasn't as easy as it is now. They probably just thought that's how you spelt liquor.
Sutton was known for his unique and traditional approach to moonshining, using an old-fashioned copper pot still and a recipe that had been passed down through his family for generations. His moonshine was reportedly of very high quality, and he was considered a master of the craft. Unfortunately, Sutton was also known for his run-ins with the law. He was arrested several times throughout his life for moonshining and other related offenses. In 2009, he was sentenced to 18 months in prison for operating an illegal distillery. Wait, what? 2009? Like, this is recent?
Well, he was pretty old.
I thought you were talking about some guy that was doing this back in the 1920s.
No, he started in like I don't know. He was like something like 90 years old when he died or something.
And he was still running shine?
That's right.
God, my man.
Well, that's like we know people that still do that, and if you get caught, it's illegal.
Is moonshining still a big business?
Yeah.
How is it still a big business? There's liquor stores everywhere.
Remember, well, because it's stronger and it's fun. It's like people that grow weed illegally still, even though it's legal. Like, don't you remember back in the day we got that? There was this guy I used to know, and he had a fully illegal setup in Santa Barbara, and he would, for like $5, he'd give you a jar, like it must have been a 3-gallon jar of moonshine, and it was like 180 proof. Like one shot would like get you hammered.
It's like one step away from it being wood alcohol.
Yeah, like it tasted like gasoline, but I mean, I don't know. We'll have to. That's why I want to get JJ on the show, because I bet you he knows the entire culture of moonshining nowadays. You know,
JJ, here's an open invitation. Next time you come to Austin, let's do a show together about moonshiners.
Hell yeah.
Despite his legal troubles, Popcorn Sutton remains a legendary figure in the moonshining community and is admired by many for his dedication to the craft and his unique personality. What was his personality like?
Dude, he wore leather overalls.
Leather overalls and fucking hammered all the time? Well, before we get to this next story, we're going to talk about our sponsors for this episode. And our sponsor for this episode is Simply Safe.
Simply Safe.
Did you know that property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike over the winter? That's why now is the best time to secure your home with award-winning home security. Simply Safe is the home security system we recommend to everybody because we use it ourselves. As many of you know, I purchased a house. I'm installing Simply Safe there. Definitely going to need it because I snuck in there the other night. It's still under construction, but snuck in there the other night.
You broke into your own house.
Broke into my own house.
had
Well, the
Simply
door
Safe-
was wide open. Once I get that installed, not going to happen anymore. In an emergency, professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real so you can get priority police response. With advanced sensors in every room, window, and door, Simply Safe is security for your entire home.
Yeah.
They have HD security cameras for both inside and outside your home, motion detection that only alerts when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors to detect fires, floods, and anything else Mother Nature can throw at you.
Hey.
My favorite feature of Simply Safe is their top-rated app that lets you control your system anywhere, anytime. Arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or adjust your settings all from your phone.
Baller. That's perfect if you're doing illegal moonshining.
Yeah,
Although we
absolutely.
don't condone it.
No, we do not condone any illegal activities utilizing the
It's just in my
Simply
head
Safe
'cause
system.
that's what we're talking
You know
about
what?
this episode.
If the Moonshiners had to go up against the Simply Safe system, they get locked up every time. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/icon. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. That's simplysafe.com/icon. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Yeah.
And now back to the Shiners. So next up, story 2 out of 3, we have Junior Johnson. I don't understand people who have Junior as a first name. Like
It's
Junior
a redneck thing.
to what? Junior to
Whatever is-
literally your entire family lineage?
Whatever. Everyone knows your dad's name, so they just call you Junior as your first name, but they know it's really whatever your dad's name is, you know?
Well, that's what Daddy Indiana Jones called Indiana Jones.
Junior.
The engine roared as Junior Johnson's NASCAR tore down the back roads of North Carolina. The sounds of the police sirens blaring behind him. Johnson had a batch of his finest moonshine in the trunk, and he wasn't about to let the cops get a sip. Selfish. And maybe some of the cops are alcoholics too. He whipped around a tight corner, sending gravel flying in all directions, and spotted a police roadblock up ahead. But Johnson was no ordinary driver. He had spent years outrunning the law while running moonshine, and he knew every trick in the book. With a grin on his face, he revved the engine and headed straight for the roadblock, skidding to a halt at the last minute and sending the police officers diving for cover. One cop was frozen in fear and pissed himself. Then Big Daddy Johnson slammed the car into reverse and sped off in the other direction, laughing to himself as he left the bewildered cops in his dust. But Johnson's moonshine run wasn't just about outrunning the law. He had a more important mission at hand. Saving a baby? Okay, you had to have made this up, right? Well, I guess we'll find out. One of his moonshine customers had called earlier in a panic. Her baby girl was sick and was going to die any minute without his help. So it is a baby going through the DTs?
Something's wrong with that baby. He was just an incredible man who did incredible things, okay?
Without a moment's hesitation, Johnson had loaded up his NASCAR car. Is that how it's said? Johnson had loaded up his NASCAR car with moonshine and hit the road. Unfortunately, the cops had been following for days, waiting for this opportunity to strike. Do they want this drunk baby to die? But Johnson was a man on a mission, and he wasn't about to let the police stop him. He pushed the car to its limits, weaving in and out of traffic, narrowly avoiding collisions at every turn. Probably because he was drunk too.
Of course.
And then he spotted the baby mama's house up ahead. Johnson could feel it. He had not left enough distance between him and the cops, and he knew they'd be closing in on him any minute. Johnson slid the car to a stop in front of the house, jumped out, and rushed inside. The baby's mother was waiting for him, and she quickly handed over the sick baby. Johnson could see that the baby girl was in bad shape. He had to act fast. He actually is giving this baby booze?
Yeah, I was surprised you could call it so quick.
Holy shit. He grabbed a bottle of moonshine from his trunk, poured a small amount into the baby's mouth, and waited. Within moments, the baby was cool again. Actually ready to party. So this drunk baby just had a horrible hangover, and he was racing against the cops to bring the baby some hair of the dog.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
This man is a fucking hero. Within moments, the baby's fever began to break and her breathing became more regular. Johnson breathed a sigh of relief and handed the baby back to her mother, who was weeping with gratitude. Thank you so much for giving my baby alcohol.
It's magic moonshine, dude. It saves babies' lives.
She thanked him and called him Daddy. Familiar with that? And asked for some sugar, and they had a very romantic kiss. Ooh, this is getting sexy. Are you going to go into detail with that?
No.
Oh no, because Johnson's mission wasn't over yet. He still had to deliver his moonshine to his waiting customers, and the cops were closing in. He looked cool as he slid over the hood, hopped back in his car, and peeled out of the driveway, leaving the super hot mom watching from the doorway with the saved baby still in her arms, and the taste of his moonshined mustache on her lips.
Yeah.
With a combination of speed, cunning, and skill, Johnson managed to evade the cops and make his deliveries just in time for his customers to party all weekend. This guy's like the Santa Claus for alcoholics.
Yes.
And as he drove off into the night, a smile on his face and the wind in his hair, he knew that he had once again triumphed over the forces of law and order.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good one. So here are the actual facts of the story.
Yeah. What I wasn't trying to say that which was funny that you said that, but the baby wasn't supposed to have a hangover. The idea was that his moonshine is so powerful and magical that it cures like dying babies.
It's a panacea for all that ails you. It'll cure any sickness.
Cures cancer, cures anything. Yeah, that was the idea behind it.
I would imagine if it's anything like normal alcohol, it just cures it for a few hours, and then you feel even worse than you felt before.
Oh, I should have added that. 2 days later, the baby
died. Junior Johnson, born Robert Glenn Johnson Jr. on June 28, 1931, was a legendary NASCAR driver and moonshiner from North Carolina. He is considered one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history, with 50 career victories and 6 championship titles. Johnson grew up in the heart of moonshine country, where he learned the craft from his father, a moonshiner himself. There's a lot of these guys that they're just carrying on a family business.
Carrying on the tradition, yep.
He started running moonshine when he was just 14 years old, driving cars loaded with illegal whiskey at high speeds through the winding mountain roads to evade the law. In the late 1950s, Johnson turned his love of high-speed driving into a career as a race car driver. He quickly became known for his aggressive driving style and his skill behind the wheel, earning him the nickname The Last American Hero from the journalist Tom Wolfe.
Apparently.
No way.
I don't know who that is.
Very, very famous journalist and writer.
Okay.
And The Last American Hero, that's almost as good as The Last
badass.
Action Hero.
That's what Tom Cruise is. He's the last American filmmaker, in my opinion.
I think so too. He's the only one actually making movies that anybody wants to watch anymore.
That are real, yeah.
Yeah. There's the Marvel movies fucking suck now. Like
they're just not the same. It's the CGI's taken over, like it's all digital now.
Well, even the writing has fallen off too. I'm not saying that the earlier Marvel movies were like Citizen Kane or anything like that, but the writing for the new ones. Okay, I used to be a fan of Taika Waititi until he started writing Marvel movies and directing Marvel movies, which I think he's only done Thor Ragnarok and Thor Love and Thunder.
Ragnarok was fucking awesome, though.
Ragnarok was awesome, and Thor Love and Thunder, it's like he just leaned into it so hard that he ruined the fucking movie.
He missed the mark.
And I am so sick. I know that I've said this before, but I am so fucking sick of having politics injected into my entertainment. I just don't want to hear that shit anymore. I have to hear about that political shit all fucking day, every day. If I go to watch a movie, I don't care what your fucking politics are.
Exactly.
Leave it out.
That's why we have a strict rule on our show that we don't do politics on Iconoblast. This is a break from real life.
Yeah, except when I get upset and start talking about politics because other people are talking about politics, and I don't want to talk about politics.
Once in a while it happens, but rules are made to be broken, Coop. So it's okay. Like we avoid
Really
politics.
more of a guideline than a rule.
The topic, yeah, my guidelines. It's like we don't make a topic about politics. If it comes up, it comes up, but we try to avoid it.
Yeah, in general, we try to avoid it because some of my favorite podcasts, I've gotten tired of listening to them because they start getting way too into politics, and they're not political shows, and we're not a political show, so I'm going to shut up about it now.
Politics.
However, Johnson's moonshining past caught up with him in 1956 when he was arrested and convicted of moonshining. So he had become a famous race car driver
And was still
moonshining. My man.
It's a passion, you know. It's like growing crops. When you become why farmers are so passionate about their seeds. It's like my dad and his garden. If gardening became illegal, my dad would never stop.
So he would essentially be a moonshiner, except with
Onions,
heirloom tomatoes. Oh, onions. Yeah. Oh, that's the hard shit. Like that's the vegetable equivalent of heroin.
He grows onions, bok choy, tomatoes, mostly vegetables, celery, artichoke.
I assume
squash.
they're pretty much all vegetables. If he was growing like cows that he was pulling out of the ground.
He also has an orange tree, lemon tree, a bunch of cactus. I don't know if cactus are veggies or fruits. The cactus you can eat.
I think technically everything that grows on a plant that's edible is a vegetable. But
I thought it was fruits and vegetables.
Well, you can differentiate between the two. The fruits are like the sexual organs of a plant, and the vegetables are not somehow. I don't know. It's been a while since I looked into it, but it's also goddamn confusing that I just don't.
Well, then
really
how
care.
does celery have kids? It's from the flower when it blooms.
Well, when a mommy celery and a daddy celery love each other very, very much, they fuck. In addition to his accomplishments on the racetrack, Johnson was also known for his role in popularizing the drafting technique in NASCAR racing. Drafting involves two or more cars driving in a tight formation to reduce air resistance and increase speed. Johnson was one of the first drivers to use drafting in NASCAR, and it quickly became a popular tactic among other drivers.
Ooh.
This was a pretty interesting guy. I think you chose the right people.
Sweet.
After retiring from racing, Johnson became a successful team owner, winning multiple championships with drivers such as Cale Yarborough and Darrell Waltrip. Oh, yeah, two of my favorites. Got poster of those guys on my wall. He was inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in 2010 and is widely regarded as one of the greatest drivers and personalities in NASCAR history. He was probably like one of the few drivers that actually was a moonshiner before.
That's my favorite thing about it. Yeah. I love that he was. Well, I guess at the time when NASCAR was first starting, it wasn't as huge as it is now, but I just like the image in my head that he's a NASCAR driver, like fucking Talladega Nights shit going on. And then at the same, like he wins a race, gets first place, gets hammered, and then does a delivery that night. I just love that.
He drives straight off the raceway and just like the whole time he's actually racing.
The moonshine's in there.
He's got a trunk full of moonshine, then goes straight. Yeah. It's like Forrest Gump running in that football scene where he just keeps going and runs out of the field. That's what this guy does. He just drives off the track, goes and makes some deliveries.
And it was so easy for him to win on a track because it's fucking boring. Like he's used to ditching the cops and driving fast on unknown roads. So like a race track is just fucking boring. That's why he couldn't quit.
He's like, oh, what? All I have to do is just continually turn left. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that drunk.
NASCAR was his fucking day job, and he hated it. All he wanted to do was rip ass, or not rip ass. Just rip it at night.
I'm here to rip ass and take names.
Here to rip ass and drink moonshine. That's the title.
Rip ass and drink moonshine. There it is. Today, Johnson's legacy lives on both in NASCAR and in the moonshining world. He is remembered as a true American icon, a man who lived life on his own terms and always followed his passions.
Good man. Great man.
Now, here's a name I recognize. Jack Daniel. The sun beat down on the fields of Lynchburg, Tennessee, as Jack Daniel made his way towards his family's distillery. He knew what he was planning. He knew what he was planning could ruin everything they've all been building together, but he couldn't take it anymore. His father was a notorious moonshiner, was endangering their family with his illegal activities, holding on to the past, not willing to change for the future. So you're telling me that Jack Daniel is a guy that broke family tradition? Because I'm gonna stop drinking that shit now.
It's a tough. Let's finish the story and then we'll discuss.
Okay, I'll hold off on judgment for the time being. As he approached the distillery, he saw his father standing in front of a boiling pot of mash, smoke billowing from the makeshift still. His broad shoulders were intimidating. Maybe this isn't such a good idea. Fuck it. Dad, we have to stop this, Jack pleaded. We need to start making alcohol legally. All right, you're losing me. He needs like a save the dog moment or something. His father turned in slow motion to him with a fierce look in his eyes. Legal, he spat. You think I'm going to give up what's been in our family for generations just to play by someone else's rules? I like his dad better already.
Well, his dad's the real Jack Daniel.
The two men glared at each other, tension thick in the air. It wasn't the first time Jack bothered his father with these silly notions of quote-unquote following the rules. Suddenly, Jack's father lunged at him, fists raised. The two men began to brawl, their punches echoing through the stills. Despite his father's strength, Jack was quick, dodging blows and landing a few of his own. His father had finally gotten old enough that Jack could take him. In a matter of minutes, he had his father pinned to the ground. Okay, now this is getting sexy. I like where this is going.
He slid his penis into his rectum.
Breathless and bruised, they totally fucked.
After sex.
Yeah, after sex, breathless and bruised, at least that's usually my experience, Jack stood up, staring down at his father. I'm done with this, he said. I won't let this happen anymore. He's breaking up with him? His father spat at him. Jack lit a match. All of this sounds so familiar.
His father spat on his cock.
Jack Daniel watched as his father's distillery burned to the ground, the orange flames glowing in the night. He knew he had gone too far, but he couldn't turn back now. He had to make a stand against the illegal and dangerous practices that had consumed his family for too long. Jack looked back at his father one last time. The fire was around them, hot. He thought to pull his father to safety, but in a swift moment, his dad grabbed a broken moonshine bottle and shoved it into his own neck. His father's blood sprayed into his son's face. He couldn't believe it. He had hoped that his father would see the error of his ways and join him in making alcohol legally. Instead, he had chosen to end his own life. At the funeral, Jack spoke of his conflicted feelings towards his father. He loved him, despite his flaws, and he would miss him dearly. He couldn't condone the damage he had done to their family, though, but he couldn't condone the damage he had done to the family and community with his moonshining. He vowed to carry on his father's legacy of alcohol making, but to do it the right way. Ugh. He would honor his father's memory by creating a product that was safe, legal, and above all, high quality. He nailed it on like the first two. High quality, I don't know about that.
Hey,
I mean, it's not that I dislike Jack Daniels. As George Washington would say, any port in a storm.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other whiskeys that I would prefer over that.
Same. I used to love Jack Daniels.
I think that's what Jack Daniels has going for it.
It's one of the most popular worldwide whiskeys
they're good
ever.
They're good at branding, not necessarily good at making whiskey.
Well, and it's cheap, but not. Jack Daniels is still above the low class. It's better than Evan Williams. People consider it higher than Jim Beam. I don't.
Higher than Jim Beam? Yeah, I would think that
55 South, all the shitty ones, it's above. A lot of people consider Jack Daniels the best of the middle ground.
Mid shelf? No.
Yeah.
Four Roses. Four Roses all the way. You pay about the same amount. So much better than Jack Daniels.
Four Roses is a little expensive compared to the rest. Like, I can get a handle of Jim Beam for $30. I'm buying a fifth of Roses for that same price.
Okay, so Jim Beam and Jack Daniels, they're bottom shelf then, because Four Roses definitely isn't top shelf. It's like mid shelf.
Yeah. Well, Four Roses is above all of them, I think. Well, they're just price wise. It's expensive.
A little bit. I never pay that much for a bottle of Four Roses. It's usually.
How much do you pay for a fifth?
For like a fifth, $24, $25.
Yeah.
As Jack Daniels walked away from the gravesite, he knew that his journey was just beginning. He had a lot of work to do to repair the damage his father had caused, but he was determined to make things right. He had learned from his father's mistakes and would not let history repeat itself. This guy's a pussy. So the actual facts about Jack Daniel are...
Well, first, so why do you think he's a pussy?
Oh, because he essentially sold out. If we're putting this in music terms, it was like the death of punk rock.
Yeah, or you could look at it how I looked at it. I actually agree with you. Like, I think he was kind of a bitch, but I think he knew he was being a bitch, but he knew that that's what would make his family not fall. It's like if you owned a fucking newspaper printing plant, and when the internet came out and everything was digital, and you were like, "No, we're staying here and we're making newspapers," you're gonna kill off your entire race. Or your entire
that's a strange way to put it, but I get where you're coming from. Okay, you know I can see that I feel like
you could see it was right at the time when moonshining was just coming to an end. It wasn't even really necessary anymore. You could do it legally, so why not just do it legally? But because it was built into their blood and it was like tradition to say fuck the police, which I love. I get. There had to be like a moment, like a draw in the sand. So he is a bitch,
all right,
but I understand it. You know what I mean?
I could see that.
If he would have followed
I'd have
his
more
dad's
respect
footsteps,
for him. I'd have more respect for him if he would have started it from the beginning as a legal enterprise for his family business. I just feel like he's kind of shitting on his ancestors, though. That being said, that was definitely the smartest move to make. I mean, that's the reason. Putting it back in music terms, that's the reason that bands sell out, is because you have to sell out to make money. So Jack Daniel is one of the original sellouts. But you make a lot more money that way.
Yeah,
I can respect that too.
Any mainstream liquor company that was around during the moonshining days, they all sold out.
Yeah, you kind of have to stick with the times.
Yeah,
I just wish it wasn't. I wish it wasn't associated with Jack Daniels.
I just wish it wasn't like
if that was a backstory for Evan Williams, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get that. But not like one of the most outlaw whiskey brands out there. It turns out the most outlaw whiskey brand out there is a bunch of fucking pussies.
Bitch. That's why I picked it, because I hate Jack Daniels personally.
Jack Daniel was not actually a moonshiner, but rather the founder of the famous whiskey brand Jack Daniels. Born in Tennessee in 1850, Daniel grew up in a family of moonshiners and learned the art of distilling at a young age. However, unlike his family members who were involved in illegal moonshining, Daniel decided to turn his skills into a legitimate business. In 1866, at the age of 16, he founded the Jack Daniel's distillery and began producing his now famous whiskey. 16 years old and he started a business?
It's back when men were men.
That is impressive. Okay, I'm starting to like him a little bit more because, 16 years old, splits off from what's essentially a criminal family business and goes legitimate.
Yeah.
When most people are just starting to learn how to drive. Most kids his age are too busy fucking impregnating every single fucking sock that they own to start a business. One of the keys to Daniel's success was his use of high-quality ingredients and his meticulous attention to detail. Even having attention to detail at 16 years old is a stretch. So he might not be as bad as I thought he was. He used only the finest grains, water from a nearby cave, and charred oak barrels to age his whiskey. And he paid close attention to the distillation process, monitoring every step to ensure a consistent and high-quality product. Over the years, Jack Daniel's whiskey became a beloved brand not just in the United States, but around the world. Daniel himself became a respected businessman and philanthropist known for his integrity, hard work, and dedication to his craft. Despite his success, Daniel remained humble and down to earth. He never forgot his roots as a moonshiner, and he continued to use many of the same techniques and traditions in his distillery that he learned as a young man. Today, more than a century after his death, Jack Daniel's whiskey remains one of the most popular and recognizable brands in the world, a testament to the skill and vision of its founder. At 16 years old, all right, that's impressive.
Got to give him some props.
Yeah, I got to give him some props because that is really impressive.
It's fucked up that he beat his dad's ass and burnt down his fucking illegal moonshining business, but you want to make an omelet, you got to kill your dad.
If you want to make an omelet, you have to watch your dad commit suicide using a broken moonshine bottle.
So, real quick, when you were reading that, this popped in my head. Josh, he made Warbringer whiskey.
Josh Barnett, the
so
celebrated Viking.
He just started making something new.
Okay.
Check out the title. Ready?
Before
I tell you what it is.
We've been talking about this a little bit. You sent me a link earlier this weekend, and I think that we need to work out a deal to make this the official beer of the Iconoblast podcast. But go ahead and read the rest.
I can't even tell if it's a beer. I don't know what it is.
It's a beer. That's the way that they describe it. Holy shit. I don't see very many beers with that kind of alcohol content, but if it's going to be associated with Josh Barnett.
It's 11.5%. And it's called Black Blood of the Earth. And the logo is metal as fuck. I don't know if you can see it. If I have time, I'll put it on the screen. Yeah,
maybe we can do an overlay. Or we'll just link to it in the episode description. I really want to make that the official beer of the Iconoblast podcast. Already, Hard AF Seltzer, that's the official seltzer of the Iconoblast podcast. We don't have an official beer, though.
True. But so what I thought was cool is it's made from barley wine, and then he stored it in the same barrels that he made the Warbringer whiskey in.
Fuck. I got to try that stuff.
So it's like soaking in whiskey barrels.
So
I'm assuming that's why the content of alcohol is so high.
Josh, we know you're a fan of the show. You listen to every single episode, and we get all those annoying DMs from you talking about how big of a fan you are. Here's the way that you can pay us back for making your favorite show. Just make it the official beer of the Iconoblast podcast, and make sure that we always have it on hand.
I'm sure he has a name for it. I bet you he doesn't call it beer.
With that type of alcohol content, that's pretty much carbonated whiskey.
Oh, it's so cool. The logo is so cool looking. But yeah, no, I'm gonna call him. I'm just gonna have to call him up and be like, dude, sponsor our show. We'll drink it every show. Just send us some cases.
I think we could probably work out that deal. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can.
That'd be awesome. I would love that. It looks so cool. It's like the most heavy metal can of alcohol.
It's exactly the type of thing that Josh would make because he's a fucking badass. He's like one of the last remaining Vikings on the earth.
Yeah, and I've gotten multiple DMs from people that tried his whiskey, the Warbringer whiskey, and everyone loves it. It's the best.
It's so fucking good. I have never had a smokier whiskey.
Yeah, it's like the strongest amount of alcohol. For how strong it is, it's so smooth.
All right, well,
That's why that's our best that's our best fucking episode we've done, because we were drinking Warbringer the whole time.
oh, absolutely. Had nothing to do with Josh being there and carrying the entire episode himself because we
forced
were
us
too
to
drunk on
drink it.
Warbringer. All right, my hangover from Friday is really catching up with me right now. I got to get out of here. I still got some work to do. So let's wrap it up for the
Okay.
day. You can follow us on Instagram at Iconoblast Podcast. You can follow me at Coop Nukem. You can follow Joel at Joel R. Benner. Also, don't forget to join us for our Monday night premieres that sometimes get pushed to Wednesday, occasionally. Just go to the Iconoblast Podcast YouTube channel. Every premiere, Joel and I are sitting in the chat talking to everyone. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's
Also, if you want any Iconoblast merch, which unfortunately I'm not wearing any of today because it's all in the washer and washer right now, go to shop.drinkinbros.com and just search for Iconoblast. You'll find all our shit. We got the Aquatic Cloaca shirts. We've got the Fuck John Lennon shirts. We've just got straight up Iconoblast shirts. All of them high quality material, super comfortable. I wear mine all the time, and that's why I have to wash them all the time. But anything else you want to plug, Joel?
No, I just I need some ideas for the next couple episodes. I don't know what to write about. You got any ideas? What
Let's
should we write
see.
about?
We'll go through the backlog of episodes that people have been.
Oh yeah, you have a list, right?
Yeah, we'll go through the backlog and see which ones we've been putting off for too long and just knock one of those out. I still want to do an episode about the royal family because I'd really love the chance to talk shit about the House of Windsor, specifically Prince Harry.
Oh, yeah.
Like I
that'd
would
be good.
really love to spend an entire episode just talking shit about Prince Harry because fuck
You got to
that-
write that one.
Fuck that ginger piece of shit. But until next time, that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast Podcast. My name is Matt Cooper,
I'm Joel Benner.
and we're reminding you to never take anything at face value.